In this video, I'm going to make a truth table for this sentence, P and Q, if and only if P. For this one, B or not C. And for this one, it's not the case that if P, then Q. Okay, so if you want to try them yourself, you can before you watch me do it, but I'll just get right into it. Okay, so our first step is to copy these values from the left, the truth values that we have assigned to each letter. And remember, we always want them to be in this order. True, false in the first column next to this line, and then alternating in pairs, true, true, false, false. All right, so we copy them over to the right side. Okay. Then, once they're copied, we have to put the truth values underneath each of the connectives. This is our main connective, so the double arrow, so that's the one we do last. We have to start over here, and so what we're looking at is this sentence that's inside the parentheses, P and Q. And so we're just looking at the P, the values for this P, and the values for Q. So again, you have to look at the characteristic truth table for the conjunction. And on that, you can see that if P is true and Q is true, then the whole sentence is true. We put a T there. If P is true and Q is false, full sentence is false. So we have an F there. P is false and T is true. The sentence is false, so we have an F there. And if they're both false, then full sentence is false. Okay, next, I should have done that different color. Let me change colors. Okay, now we want to put truth values underneath the double arrow. And to do that, we're looking at this column and this column. Again, this is the double arrow is the main connective. So what we're thinking about is this chunk, P and Q, just taking it all together. And so all we care about is what's here, and then the P, of course. And so we care about that. All right, so looking at the characteristic truth table for the biconditional, if both what comes before the double arrow and what comes after are true, then the biconditional is true. If it's false and true, then the biconditional is false. False and false, then the biconditional is true. And false and false, okay, so again, true. All right, so we want to check and make sure we didn't make any mistakes. All right, this looks fine. Okay, so what we figured out is this whole sentence, P and Q, if and only if P is false when P is true and Q is false. So under this scenario, i.e. this line, the sentence is false. Otherwise, for every other scenario, both letters are true, or P is false, Q is true, or both are false. Any of those other three scenarios, the full sentence is true. Okay, next, we begin by copying the values for the atomic sentences, the letters themselves. Okay, now we have two more columns to fill in. So the column underneath the wedge and the column underneath the negation, the not sign there. Okay, the main connective in this sentence is the wedge, so we want to do that last. So first we need to figure out what the truth value for not C is. And that's just going to be the reverse of the truth value for C. So when C is true, not C is false. When it's false, not C is true. When it's true, of course, it's false. And then when it's false, it's true. Okay, now we can fill in our last column underneath the wedge. And so here what we're looking at is this column. We want to know the truth values for B and this column here. These are the truth values for not C. So what we care about is B or not C. Okay, let me get a different color. Okay, so if you're looking at the characteristic truth table for the disjunction, then if we have true and false, the disjunction is true. If we have true and true, it is true. If we have false and false, then it is false. And if we have false and true, then it is true. Okay, so what we'd figured out here is the full sentence, B or not C, is false when B is false and C is true. And in every other scenario, it's true. Okay, next, and this is the last one that I'll do in this video, we have, it's not the case that if P then Q. Okay, so we begin by copying the truth values for P and Q. Okay, next we need to fill in the truth values underneath the arrow. So for the moment, what we're concerned about is just P arrow Q, what's inside the parentheses. So looking at the characteristic truth table for the conditional, true and true, this is going to be true. True and false, that's going to be false. False and true, that's going to be true. And both the antecedent and the consequent are false, that's going to be true. Okay, last we have to fill in the truth values underneath the not sign, and for that we are just looking at these here. So these are the truth values for the sentence P arrow Q. We want to figure out what the truth values are for not P arrow Q. So we're just going to basically flip each one of these. The negation, of course, just flips true to false and false to true. Okay, so we have true here, so this is going to be false. We have false here, so this is going to be true. True there, so this is false. And true here, so that's false. Okay, not a very good column, but what we've figured out is that for this whole sentence, it's not the case that P arrow Q, the sentence is only true when P is true and Q is false. Otherwise, the sentence is false. Okay, I'll stop that video here, although I will tell you, actually, before I finish it, that in the next video, I'll do truth value for this sentence, not Q or P. This one, it's not the case that, in parentheses, Q or P. These two are different, of course. And then one last one, G and H, if and only if, not G. Okay, so I'll do those three in the next video, and then in the video after that, I'll do some truth tables in Carnap.